Come in, Mr. Davis.
Why didn't you tell me about this procedure before it took place?
Oh, obviously you're very upset. Tell
Yes,
me
I'm very upset.
Okay. Tell me what procedure you're talking about and what...
The barium enema that you so kindly prescribed for me.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Tell me what happened. It sounds very
It was very
bad.
painful. It was very humiliating. You think I enjoy going into a clinic where there's an x-ray room where I have things shoved up my ass? You think that's pleasant?
I do not, and I hear it was very, very unpleasant for you, obviously. You're obviously really upset. Come and sit down and tell me exactly what happened and how awful it was. Come and sit yourself down.
They take me into this x-ray room in a clinic
Yeah.
and do this procedure without my knowledge that this was going to take place. Why didn't you tell me that this was going to take place?
Well,
I had no idea of the pain that was going to be involved in this procedure. Had I been aware of that, I obviously would have tried to explore other ways of doing this.
yes. Okay, so it hurt a lot.
Absolutely.
And did it...
You have no idea that this procedure causes people pain?
It doesn't usually cause a lot of pain. It's always always uncomfortable. But obviously some people are have much greater sort of pain and discomfort
I just might
than
happen
others.
to be one of those people, might I?
Yeah, of course. Did the pain last just while the procedure was happening? Or
No,
did
it continued for quite
dear.
some time
Okay.
afterwards when the procedure was over, yes.
So this was a
I thought they were going to rip my
traumatic
bowels
event.
out.
Yeah, okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
You're sorry to hear that?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Well, I'm sorry you didn't experience it yourself, so you know exactly what I was talking about.
I understand what you're saying. I mean, I guess the standard piece of information that they give you at the radiology department says it's going to be uncomfortable, and it's only occasionally that somebody's bowel, as it were, is so sensitive that it really, really hurts a lot. And there's no way of predicting who is going to have a rotten time of it.
Yeah, well, I guess that's why they call it practice, isn't it?
I take your point. I take your point. I think it's a... Now, even though, Mr. Davis, it was a horrible experience, I want to separate that from the result of the barium enema, because the result is important. Now, although it was a nasty experience, I was worried, when I ordered that, I was worried that your symptoms might have been related to something really serious. I was actually worried that you might have had a cancer in the bowel. I think we discussed that briefly. Now, separating the trauma of the experience from the result of the barium enema, I'm really glad to tell you that actually there was no cancer in the bowel. You're clear. There's no problem. What you have are those symptoms. The symptoms are what we call irritable bowel syndrome, and I'll talk more about that in a moment or two. But even though it was
Well, I am
nasty,
glad that the news turned out that way as well.
So am I.
But had I been a little more prepared, this wouldn't be happening at this point in time.
I understand you. I understand you to this extent. If ever we need another procedure, whatever, you know, a barium enema or a gastroscopy or anything in the future, you must remind me, and I'll remind myself, I'll mark it in the chart, I'll give you some pills which you take the night before and on the morning of the procedure, which will make you sort of almost like a mild anesthetic kind of thing. So
Well, that would have been very helpful.
I guess if we'd have known, we do now, but if we'd have known then that it was going to cause this amount of trauma, we would have given you those pills.
It's not my way to treat people in your profession this way, but
I understand.
this is not acceptable.
I understand entirely, and I also understand that you don't normally behave like this. You're not normally that cross. And what I thought is something really bad must have happened to make you
Well,
this
I thought it
cross.
was pretty bad, yes.
So I'm glad that it was that awful experience led to the results that it did, no cancer.
Well, I'm glad of that as well.
Ditto. And if anything, any procedure is needed in the future, I'll give you some pills.
All right.
All right, old chap.